Those of you who've been following me for a while, who own that mysterious van that's always parked outside, will know that I am presently a father to very young children who have to be settled down for bed every night, and since the Patent Office rejected my chloroform security blanket concept, I have to make do with reading them children's books. Oh yes, I've acquired a lot of opinions on children's books. I bet the bloke who wrote Harold and the Purple Crayon wasn't the one in charge of cleaning the playroom walls. And is it me, or is the central theme of the pout fish that existential depression can be cured by being forcefully sexually assaulted? Perhaps this is why I was drawn to The Plucky Squire, a debut video game by a new indie studio centralising the concept of a children's picture book that comes to life, not to be confused with The Pluck Esquire, which is a video game about a lawyer who plays the ukulele. The fuck was that, Yahtzee? Never mind. In universe, The Plucky Squire is a series of children's books about Jot, a squire in a generic children's fantasy world who could best be described with a word that means gutsy and tenacious in a slightly patronising way. One of those really annoying children's books that will use up an entire double-page spread on like 3 words and a silhouette of a castle. And I'm not asking everything to be Where's Fucking Wally, but I just don't think that can be economically sound. The game opens with us exploring Jot's daily life in a top-down, very Zelda 1-esque sort of gameplay arrangement, very convincingly drawn in a nicely animated Ligne Claire sort of style, like a minimalist Tintin book. He goes about what promises to be a pretty bog-standard day in his life, gets up, gets sent on a quest by a good wizard with a severe disinclination to leave their house, kill about 19 goblins, and thwart the plans of the evil wizard. Thwart being a word used to describe what heroes do to the plans of evil wizards, and nothing else. But a wrench is thrown in the thwarting process when the evil wizard reveals that he's discovered they're living in a children's book in which he is destined to inevitably fail, and so in an effort to rewrite the book to render himself unthwartable, he casts Jot out of the book into the cluttered bedroom of the book's owner, where he becomes a slightly off-putting, fully 3D render of himself, like a minimalist Tintin movie. Can Jot use the various objects he finds while exploring the child's desk to return to the world of his book and more decisively thwart the— oh, he did that while I was talking. Yes, we return to the book almost immediately, but can now use the power to come and go from the book to solve puzzles by manipulating the pages and fiddling about with the words. So on one page there'll be some text saying a massive guard was blocking the way, and on another it'll say a tiny ant was pushing a crumb. So if you pull out and swap some of those words around, you can change the reality of the story and finally teach that arrogant crumb who's boss. That's what I might hesitantly call the core puzzle mechanic of Plucky Squire. There are others, about 300 of them to be precise, but more on that later. Plucky Squire is pretty visually impressive. That's probably why my computer sounds like it's having an asthma attack when I run it. The world of outside the book is nigh photorealistic, and the attention to detail on all the plant pots and crafting supplies is jolly impressive. It's like I've been shrunk down into a little ant and forced to navigate that one table in PT with all the pills and shit on it. The simplistic art of the children's book parts feels very authentically like something a hack artist would scribble out to meet the Christmas deadline, and the transition for 2D to 3D gameplay is nice and seamless. It's also very solidly written with some good gags, and it clearly took a leaf out of the Thomas Was Alone Stanley Parable Shawshank Redemption playbook, i.e. that very few narrative experiences can't be enhanced by the addition of a warm, reassuring narrator voice. Maybe if a Serbian film had been dubbed over by Morgan Freeman, all the baby rape would have been a lot less harrowing. All in all, it's very professionally put together. The Plucky Squire, I mean, not the baby rape. Gosh, thanks, Yahtzee! Well, don't get overexcited, Plucky Squire. You might spill something from that massively overloaded tray of game mechanics you've got there. And now we're getting to it. Let me be clear. Everything that comes from the premise of messing with a children's book to affect the story is great. Replacing words, tilting the book to slide objects around, leaving the book and going over to a Magic the Gathering card, to secure a bow, to bring back to the book, all on theme. What's not on theme is when you bring the bow back and play a shooting minigame entirely unlike the core gameplay up to that point. Or the one boss fight where you play Super Punch-Out, or the one where you play Dr. Mario, or the one that's a rhythm game akin to those Rhythm Heaven games the WarioWare devs used to make, or the mandatory stealth puzzle section that goes on too long. To use the standard unit of banal time wasting, it's about 5 TikToks. And what has any of this got to do with children's books? Some of these minigames crop up when members of Jot's entourage of support NPCs are given moments to shine, after which they go, I have completed my story arc, now I will join you in standard combat. And it's presented as significant, but it's fucking Zelda 1 combat. I never needed any help with it, and all they proceed to do is run around being annoying. It's like when my kids insist on helping me make banana bread and just proceed to get in the way and eat all the flour. The whole game culminates in a final boss fight outside the book, in which we strap on a jetpack and play fucking Space Harrier against a giant alien butterfly. Again, nothing to do with anything that's been set up, story or gameplay-wise. I was waiting for the book's owner to walk into the room and anticlimactically end things with a fly swatter. God knows I'm not saying a game can't have variety. The insipid Zelda 1 style poking at sushi ingredients with a cocktail stick combat probably needs some, but it doesn't leave room for the game's interesting mechanics to breathe. The swapping words around puzzle will occasionally, if you're lucky, involve having to get words from previous pages in the same chapter, and that's as complex as it gets. How about letting us leave the book and steal words from other nearby books? Like grab a few words from a copy of 50 Shades of Grey and use them to embarrass someone to death. I might slightly meanly call Plucky Squire a game with a bad case of first game syndrome. So excited to be here and to show you all its ideas, like a child wanting to take you to their room and show you their SpongeBob pillowcase, fittingly enough. Keen to show off all the different mini-games it knows how to make and reference all the old games that have influenced it. And the end result is a game that is fun and competently assembled, but which is spread too thin to reach its full potential. It's like a rock song that never kicks in properly. A sensual massage that has to end disappointingly when there isn't a spare power socket for the buggery drill. Hello everyone, just want to get the jump on anyone planning to comment, "Duh, where's the Silent Hill 2 review? Duh, where's the Metaphor Fantasio review?" in exactly that tone of voice. They're both in the works, just takes time, especially Metaphor, Jesus fucking Christ. Takes about 16 hours of gameplay before you can even start waifu cruising. But you know what? If you were planning to post that, how dare you? I bet you don't even subscribe to the Patreon. This series isn't sustained on likes, you know. If every single person subscribed to Second Wind gave just $1 measly a month, well, we'd certainly stop banging on about it for a while. Where's my Silent Hill review? Why isn't my favourite video series financially sustainable after I gave them all my hard-earned bugger all? Why do I have to get out of bed in the morning? Why can't the entire world come to my bedroom windows where I can pick out what I want with a fishing rod? What an entitled prick! If you are a Patreon subscriber, please disregard the preceding.